Good morning. Let me start by sharing something that might genuinely catch you off guard. For decades, the conventional medical establishment has told seniors to slow down, take it easy, and quietly accept the physical decline that comes with getting older. But what if I told you that some of the most groundbreaking longevity research over the last 10 years completely disproves that advice? What if the exact habits keeping you sharp, strong, and fully independent at 75, 80, and even 85 years old aren't the things your doctor mentioned during your last checkup, but simple daily routines that most people your age have quietly abandoned? I'm Dr. Eduardo Perez Alba, and after more than 2 decades working directly with patients in the 75 to 85 age bracket, I have witnessed firsthand what clinical research is only now beginning to prove. The seniors who age the best, the ones who still drive themselves to appointments, tend their own gardens, and remember every grandchild's birthday without checking a calendar, share a very specific set of daily behaviors, not a cabinet full of expensive supplements. A landmark study published by the Stanford Center on Longevity tracked over 4,200 adults between the ages of 70 and 90 across a 12-year period. What researchers discovered was striking. Individuals who practiced just 4 or more of these specific daily habits were 61% less likely to experience accelerated functional decline, the rapid loss of physical independence that forces so many seniors into assisted living far sooner than necessary. 61%! That is a massive difference. That is the literal dividing line between living life on your own terms and living it on someone else's schedule. Now, I want to give you a quick preview before we go any further, because you might be tempted to skip ahead. The number one habit on this list, the most powerful of all 6, is something that almost nobody talks about. It has nothing to do with standard diet or traditional exercise routines. In fact, most cardiologists never even bring it up. Yet research emerging from institutions like Johns Hopkins and the University of Edinburgh suggests it may be the single greatest predictor of mental clarity and physical independence past age 75. So please stay with me all the way to the end, because that final habit could genuinely change how you approach the rest of your life. Before we jump into the list, let me ask you a quick question. Drop your age in the comments below, whether you're 68, 74, 81, or anywhere else, and tell me which of these habits you think you already practice. I make it a personal priority to read every single comment on this channel. This community means the world to me, and your personal journey matters, so leave a note down below and let's have a real conversation. Now, let's count down from number 6 down to number 1, starting with a habit that sounds deceptively simple on the surface, but carries profound biological power. Number 6, drinking water strategically rather than just casually. Here is what most people misunderstand about hydration past age 75. They assume their fluid balance works the exact same way it did when they were 45, but it absolutely does not. After age 70, your kidneys lose roughly 40% of their filtration efficiency. On top of that, your body's natural thirst mechanism becomes significantly blunted, meaning you genuinely stop feeling thirsty even when your cells are severely dehydrated. Meanwhile, your blood's capacity to transport oxygen and vital nutrients to your brain and muscle tissue drops with every single percentage point of fluid you lose. Think of your circulatory system like a river-based delivery network. When the water level drops, the delivery boats slow to a crawl, shipments get delayed, and the entire system begins to break down. That is precisely what chronic, mild dehydration does inside an aging body. A major study published in the European Journal of Nutrition, evaluating 3,500 adults over 70, revealed that seniors who maintained a consistent daily fluid intake above 1.8 liters experienced a 38% reduction in urinary tract infections, a 29% drop in falls, because dehydration severely impairs balance, reaction time, and blood pressure regulation, and significantly higher scores on short-term memory tests. Your brain tissue is roughly 75% water, and even a modest 2% drop in hydration triggers measurable cognitive decline at any age. But past 75, that mental fog is magnified. because your brain's compensatory mechanisms are already working overtime just to maintain baseline function. Here is the specific routine that sets truly exceptional seniors apart. They don't simply drink water whenever they happen to remember. They drink 12 to 16 ounces first thing in the morning, before touching coffee, before eating breakfast, and before doing anything else. This is vital because your body loses fluids continuously overnight through respiration and perspiration, leaving adults over 75 with an overnight fluid deficit roughly 30% greater than in midlife. From there, they drink a small glass with every meal and one more in the mid-afternoon. Here is the critical synergy tip. Pair your morning water with a tiny pinch of high-quality sea salt or an electrolyte tablet. After 75, your kidneys struggle to hold on to sodium, and without adequate electrolytes, plain water simply flushes straight through your system without being properly absorbed into the cells where it's desperately needed. I treated an 81-year-old patient from Boise, Idaho named Margaret, who came to me struggling with afternoon brain fog, dizzy spells upon standing, and a persistent feeling that her thoughts were wrapped in cotton. She wasn't dealing with acute dehydration, she was living in a state of chronic, low-grade fluid deficit. We made just one adjustment: strategic, timed hydration combined with a pinch of morning electrolytes. 6 weeks later, she told me it felt as though someone had wiped the windows of her mind completely clean. Her balance stabilized, her afternoon fatigue vanished, and she felt sharp again, all from one simple, well-timed habit. Number 5. Resistance-based movement at least twice every week. I want to be crystal clear about this point because it gets misinterpreted all the time. When I recommend resistance movement, I am not telling you to join a gym and lift heavy iron weights. I am talking about any physical movement that requires your muscles to push or pull against a force, whether that's a resistance band, light dumbbells, wall push-ups, or even carrying grocery bags with deliberate posture. That distinction is vital after 75 because of a biological process known as anabolic resistance. Let me explain what anabolic resistance actually is. It is the diminished capacity of aging muscle cells to respond to dietary protein and physical stimulation. In practical terms, it means that after age 75, your body requires a stronger, more intentional resistance signal just to maintain the same amount of muscle that a 50-year-old could hold on to with half the effort. Your muscles aren't lazy. They are simply harder to wake up, and if you fail to stimulate them consistently, they enter a rapid state of sarcopenia, the progressive wasting of muscle mass and physical strength. Research from the Mayo Clinic links sarcopenia to a 47% higher risk of falls, a 53% greater likelihood of losing the ability to perform basic daily activities within 5 years, and a significantly shortened overall lifespan. A compelling study from Tufts University evaluated adults aged 75 to 85 who began practicing twice-weekly resistance exercises. After just 10 weeks, participants achieved an average 37% increase in leg strength, a 28% improvement in balance scores, and a measurable boost in insulin sensitivity, which directly reduces inflammation and enhances cognitive function. The mitochondria inside your muscle cells, the tiny power plants that generate your physical energy, literally regenerate and multiply more efficiently when resistance movement is present. You aren't just building muscle, you are restoring the cellular energy grid of your entire body. The practical routine is simple. Aim for 2 to 3 sessions per week, lasting 20 to 30 minutes each, focusing on your largest muscle groups, your legs, hips, and upper back. Resistance bands are ideal for seniors because they deliver smooth, progressive tension without placing harsh stress on your joints. Here is your synergy tip. Complete your resistance workout within 30 minutes of consuming 25 to 30 grams of protein. Past age 75, your anabolic window, the time frame when muscle cells absorb amino acids most effectively, is shorter and far less forgiving than in younger years. Proper nutrient timing at this stage of life is not optional. It is essential. Before we move on to number 4, if this video is providing you with real value and teaching you things you wish someone had shared years ago, please take a quick second right now to click that subscribe button And if you know someone between 70 and 90 who could benefit from this guidance, share this video with them today. This channel exists for one simple reason: to give older adults the science-backed medical truths that brief doctor visits rarely have time to cover. Now, let's talk about habit number 4: maintaining a consistent, purposeful sleep schedule. This involves far more than simply heading to bed early. After age 75, your circadian rhythm, your body's internal 24-hour master clock, naturally weakens and drifts out of sync. Your brain produces roughly 70% less melatonin than it did in your 30s, while your slow-wave sleep, the deepest, most physically restorative sleep phase, drops by up to 80%. This deep phase is precisely when your body releases human growth hormone to repair cellular damage, support immune defenses, and rebuild muscle tissue. Poor sleep after 75 is far more dangerous than simply feeling groggy the next day. A landmark study from the University of California, Berkeley, revealed that adults over 70 with chronically disrupted sleep patterns exhibited a 68% higher accumulation of beta-amyloid plaques in the brain, the exact proteins linked to Alzheimer's disease. Seniors who age exceptionally well don't just sleep longer, they sleep consistently. They go to bed within the exact same 30-minute window every single night, wake up at the same time every morning, including weekends, and keep their bedrooms cool, between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, because internal temperature regulation during sleep becomes less efficient with age. Furthermore, they turn off digital screens a full 60 minutes before bed, because mental stimulation keeps the prefrontal cortex active, delaying sleep onset by an average of 47 minutes in adults over 70, according to Harvard research. Here is the synergy tip. Combine your consistent sleep routine with 10 minutes of slow, diaphragmatic breathing right before you close your eyes. Deep belly breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's rest and repair mode, and clinical studies show it lowers nighttime cortisol levels by up to 22%, making it significantly easier for older adults to enter and sustain deep, slow-wave sleep. Number 3. Consuming dietary protein in a deliberate, evenly distributed pattern. This is where I encounter the single most dangerous dietary misconception among seniors, and it deeply concerns me as a physician. The belief that you need less protein as you get older is completely false. In fact, it may be the most damaging piece of nutritional folklore ever passed down. The biological reality is the exact opposite. After age 75, due to anabolic resistance, your body requires 50 to 75% more protein per pound of body weight than a healthy 30-year-old just to maintain baseline muscle mass. Yet most seniors consume barely half of what they need, largely because appetite declines with age and high-carbohydrate foods feel simpler to prepare. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, evaluating over 2,700 adults aged 70 to 85, revealed that individuals who consumed at least 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily, spread evenly across 3 or more meals, maintained significantly greater muscle mass, had 41% lower rates of hospitalization from fall-related injuries, and demonstrated markedly stronger immune responses against common infections like pneumonia and influenza. Think of protein like the building bricks your body requires to repair its physical structure overnight. While you sleep, your body tears down worn-out cells and replaces them with fresh tissue. Without enough bricks, the rebuilding process remains incomplete, and over months and years, that structural deficit becomes devastating. Here is the practical strategy. Aim for 25 to 35 grams of quality protein at each of your 3 main meals. That equals roughly 4 to 5 ounces of chicken, fish, eggs, Greek yogurt, or cooked legumes per plate. Distributing your intake throughout the day is critical because aging muscles can only utilize about 35 to 40 grams of protein in a single sitting for muscle synthesis. Any excess beyond that gets burned as energy rather than used for cellular repair. Spreading your protein across breakfast, lunch, and dinner ensures that every single gram goes toward protecting your strength. I treated a 78-year-old patient from Scottsdale, Arizona named James, whose daughter brought him in after he lost nearly 18 pounds of what his previous doctor had dismissed as normal age-related weight loss. It was not normal. He was losing vital muscle tissue, not fat, and his grip strength had plummeted into the bottom 15th percentile for his age group. We restructured his daily meals around deliberate protein distribution. 12 weeks later, James had regained 11 pounds of lean muscle. His grip strength climbed back into the 60th percentile, and he proudly told me that he had carried all of his own grocery bags from the car for the first time in 2 years. Here is the synergy tip. Pair your protein-rich meals with a small source of vitamin C, such as an orange slice, diced bell peppers, or a squeeze of fresh lemon juice. Vitamin C is indispensable for synthesizing collagen, which works alongside dietary protein to fortify not just muscle fibers, but the tendons, joint cartilage, and skin that hold your physical frame together after 75. Number 2. Daily, intentional social engagement. Earlier in this video, I mentioned that one of the top habits would surprise you, and this is usually the one, because it sounds almost too emotional to be a serious medical recommendation. But make no mistake, the clinical evidence linking social engagement to longevity past age 75 is some of the most robust and undeniable science in modern gerontology. A landmark meta-analysis from Brigham Young University, analyzing data from over 300,000 adults across decades, discovered that chronic social isolation carries a mortality risk equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes every single day. Let that sink in. Chronic isolation is just as destructive to your lifespan as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. For adults over 75, data from the National Institute on Aging confirms that loneliness speeds up cognitive decline by up to 64%, raises the risk of developing dementia by 41%, and drives up systemic inflammatory markers in the blood, specifically interleukin-6 and C-reactive protein, which directly damage blood vessels, impair immune function, and erode brain connectivity. The physiological explanation for this is profound. Meaningful human connection stimulates the release of oxytocin, which suppresses cortisol, lowers inflammation, and activates the prefrontal cortex in ways that keep neural pathways dense and active. Your social brain behaves like a muscle. The neurons that fire during lively conversation, shared laughter, storytelling, and emotional connection are the exact same circuits that preserve your memory, judgment, and executive function. When those circuits go unused for weeks, they begin to prune away, and because neuroplasticity slows with age, rebuilding lost pathways becomes significantly harder. The prescription here is simple, but it requires deliberate effort. Make time for at least one meaningful, face-to-face social interaction every single day. An engaged phone call certainly counts, as does attending a community group, participating in a faith gathering, walking with a friend, or sharing a regular lunch with a neighbor. What does not count is passive presence, such as sitting silently in a room with the television on. You need active engagement, thinking, responding, laughing, and sharing. That active mental exchange is the exact biological stimulus that keeps your brain structurally intact. An 83-year-old patient from Charleston, South Carolina, named Dorothy, lost her husband of 54 years and subsequently withdrew completely from social life. When her daughter brought her to see me 8 months later, Dorothy's cognitive scores had dropped noticeably in less than a year. We didn't change her medications. Instead, we built her an active social schedule: a weekly book club, a daily 20-minute phone call with rotating family members, and a twice-weekly volunteer shift at her local library. 8 months later, her cognitive scores returned almost completely to baseline. Her inflammatory markers dropped, and her daughter remarked that Dorothy finally felt like herself again. Social connection past 75 is not a casual luxury. It is a vital biological necessity. Here's the synergy tip. Combine your social interactions with light physical movement whenever possible, such as taking a walk with a friend, joining a group exercise class, or gardening with a neighbor. Research from the University of British Columbia shows that pairing social interaction with physical movement produces a massive synergistic boost in BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, far greater than either activity alone. BDNF acts as literal fertilizer for your brain cells, so you want to maximize it every chance you get. And now we arrive at number 1. The single habit that fewer than 12% of adults over 75 practice consistently. which researchers at Johns Hopkins have described as the single most underutilized non-prescription longevity tool available to aging adults. Number 1. Daily, purposeful cognitive challenge. I am not referring to simple crossword puzzles or casual reading, although both have value. I am talking about something far more demanding, structured, and transformative. The daily practice of learning a genuinely new skill, a foreign language, a musical instrument, or a complex creative craft that pushes your brain into a state of productive discomfort. Here is why this holds the top spot. After age 75, your brain naturally defaults to relying on established, well-worn neural pathways. It becomes extraordinarily efficient at performing familiar routines and deeply reluctant to construct new connections. This isn't a personal failing. It is an evolutionary survival mechanism designed to conserve metabolic energy. However, that constant preference for the familiar is precisely how cognitive reserve gets depleted. Cognitive reserve is your brain's resilience buffer, its capacity to withstand age-related physical changes while continuing to operate at a high level. Think of it like the processing memory in a computer. The deeper your cognitive reserve, the more physical wear and tear your brain can absorb before showing symptoms of decline. Research from the University of Edinburgh's Lothian birth cohort study, following over 1,000 adults from their 70s into their late 80s, revealed that seniors who engaged in novel, challenging mental activities for at least 30 minutes a day demonstrated a 47% slower rate of brain shrinkage on MRI scans, maintained significantly faster processing speed and sharper episodic memory, and were 38% less likely to develop dementia over the following decade. A separate trial from the Rush Memory and Aging Project found that older adults who maintained intellectually stimulating daily lives performed on cognitive tests at levels equivalent to individuals 10 years younger. The underlying mechanism is neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself and form fresh neural connections. While neuroplasticity slows down with age, it never disappears. Your brain retains the capacity to build new circuits well into your 80s, provided you give it enough challenge. Novel learning provides that exact stimulus. Learning a new language illuminates 5 distinct brain regions simultaneously and has been shown by the American Academy of Neurology to delay the onset of dementia symptoms by an average of 4.5 years. Learning a musical instrument coordinates fine motor control, auditory processing, memory recall, and emotional regulation in a way few other activities can match. Even learning an entirely new style of cooking from scratch, requiring precise measuring, sensory focus, and sequencing, delivers a powerful cognitive workout. Here is the practical approach. Choose one brand new skill every 3 to 4 months, and spend 20 to 30 minutes daily actively practicing it. The key word is actively. Watching someone else play an instrument online is not learning. Sitting with the instrument in your hands and working through the clumsy mistakes is where the neurological magic happens. The resistance is the entire point. A 79-year-old retired civil engineer from Portland named Robert came to see me after spending his first 3 retirement years with very little mental challenge, noticing increasing trouble recalling names and following complex conversations. His MRI showed standard age-related changes, but his cognitive reserve scores were lower than optimal. I gave him a clear prescription: choose one skill he had always wanted to try and practice it daily. He chose oil painting, something he had never attempted before. He struggled at first, but 18 months later, he had completed 23 paintings, joined a local art guild, which fulfilled habit number 2, and his follow-up cognitive assessments showed measurable improvements across 3 out of 5 domains. Real improvement at 79 years old. Here's the synergy tip. Pair your daily cognitive challenges with an adequate intake of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA found in wild fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel, or in premium fish oil supplements. DHA forms the primary structural fat of your brain cell membranes, and data from the Framingham Heart Study proves that individuals with higher circulating DHA levels exhibit far superior neuroplastic adaptations during cognitive training. In short, DHA prepares the soil so the seeds of new learning can take root. All of the clinical studies and scientific references mentioned in this video are linked in the description box below. I encourage you to read through them, discuss them with your doctor, and build a personalized plan tailored to your health. Now, let me leave you with something straight from the heart. Having worked with so many patients in the 75 to 85 age range, I know that this season of life is far too often treated as a countdown rather than an active continuation. That mindset is completely wrong. The clinical science we covered today reveals that the human body and mind at 75, 80, and 85 possess an incredible, stubborn capacity for resilience, not despite your age, but in active partnership with it. These 6 habits, strategic hydration, resistance exercise, consistent sleep, distributed protein, active social connection, and purposeful cognitive challenge, are not about trying to turn back the clock. They are about making the absolute best use of the time you have. They are about carrying your own groceries, remembering your grandchildren's milestones, driving with confidence, and laughing around the dinner table with the people you cherish. That is what true independence looks like. It is never too late to begin. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please take a moment to do so right now. Every week, I share research-backed health guidance created specifically for seniors to help you add vibrant, high-quality years to your life. Hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and leave a comment below with your age, the habit you feel strongest in today, and the one you plan to build next. I will be reading every single response. Take wonderful care of yourself because you are worth the effort, and I will see you in the next video.